Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to FCIC, the Florida Center for Inclusive Communities Employment Webinar Series for the month of October, which is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We are featuring two webinars on Social Security. Part one is understanding SSDI, SSI, and Work Basics. And then the second part is how to maximize your benefits in my terminology. That's not the title, but it's maximizing your benefits. So I thank you all for being here, and this is a joint collaboration between the Florida Center for Inclusive Communities as well as the Florida APSI, which stands for the Association of Persons Supporting Employment First. And so our speakers for today, they will introduce themselves during the presentation, and then I'll come back at the end. Our speakers are Bill Bloxham, Michelle Wells, and Maddie Wyzerick. And I am going to let Maddie now share her screen.
Thank you, Denise. Let me go ahead. Someone can give me a thumbs up. Can you see the first slide here? All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to hand it over to Bob, who's going to start off our presentation.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Bob Bloxham. I am the president of Benefits Consulting Services and here today to kind of talk about Social Security and job seekers, focusing mostly today on SSI, but doing a little bit with SSDI as well. Kind of the agenda for today, we're going to kind of explain the difference between SSI and SSDI and go over some of the SSI work incentives, ABLE accounts and what they do and what they don't do, and answer any questions that you guys might have and provide some resources where you can get some greater understanding, and so that everybody kind of understands that it is possible to work and keep benefits, and especially on SSI, you're almost always going to be further ahead working and keeping benefits rather than just on benefits alone. So, and again, my name is Robert Bloxham, president of Benefits Consulting Services, and I'll let some of my other co-presenters introduce themselves as well. Michelle?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Wells. I'm a senior work incentive specialist for the GROW Group. I'll say hello again. I will have my camera off because I have a tendency to look at myself when I present. So I want to make sure that I give you the full information and full attention. So my camera will be off. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Michelle. My name is Maddie Wyzerick. I am a newer benefits specialist or benefits planner. I am currently working with Next Step Success out of Roanoke, Virginia, providing services for DARS in Virginia and learning benefits counseling. My professional experience comes from working the last almost 10 years with the GROW Group as a director of employment services, mostly doing job coaching and training other job coaches. And I've just fallen in love with these services and helping people understand the importance of work and understanding their benefits.
Fantastic. So we're going to kind of go into what SSI is. SSI is based on needs, so it is more of a welfare-based program rather than a work-based program like SSDI is as well. SSI has resource limits, which is $2,000 for an individual, $3,000 for a couple. So that is like stocks, bonds. They do disregard your home if that is your primary residence, and they do disregard one vehicle. So those do not count as resource limits. So in 2025, the federal benefit rate, or the maximum you can receive on SSI, is $967 per month for an individual, and that amount changes yearly depending on inflation and other things as well. and we should get that new amount for 2026 coming shortly. And everybody who receives SSI also is automatically enrolled in Medicaid for health coverage as well. So, and there is a full benefit rate, or FBR, which is the $967 that we talked about. And VTR is a 1/3 benefit reduction. And what that comes from is housing and utilities and bills, things like that. If the SSI recipient is not contributing to household expenses, Social Security will reduce that benefit by 1/3. And you can kind of mitigate that by getting a room or lodger agreement, which is that draft document you see right in the middle of the slide, which is basically a lease agreement, like they're paying rent to stay in their shelter, home or apartment or whatever it is, or contribute to housing expenses such as utilities or food or things like that, so they can get back up to that full $967 benefit rate. So if you do see the amount of your SSI check fluctuate, that might be very well what it is. So SSDI, which is the Social Security Disability Insurance, is more based on a work record, either your own work record or that of your parent or your spouse. So it is not necessarily welfare based. So obviously, the more you work, the higher your SSDI check is. Now, just because you are on SSDI does not automatically enroll you in Medicaid like SSI does. So you can get on Medicare. However, there is a 2-year waiting period, and depending on the amount that you receive on SSDI, you may have to pay part or all of your premium, which for 2025 is $185 per person on SSDI. So, and this is your SSI calculator. So how they calculate the amount of SSI you get is they take your gross wages, so your wages before tax or anything like that. They subtract $20, which is the general income exclusion, and then they'll take $65 and subtract that as income that you've earned. So obviously from working or from your pay, and then they divide the remainder by 2, and that is how much your SSI check will go down that specific month that you earn those wages. So they count less than half of your income. So that's why it's always more beneficial to work and receive SSI than just SSI alone. Next slide. There you go. And this is just a calculation sheet. This is kind of what we use to go down everything, and you can see where you enter various unearned income, your earned income, any of your IRWs or impairment related work expenses. That is also deducted from your income. We'll go over that a little bit more later on in the presentation. And this just kind of shows you step by step how to do the math. This does get pretty complicated, so if you need assistance, you can reach out to a VR counselor, a benefits planner, and we'll be more than happy to assist as well. So, go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you, Bob. I think I'm next on the hit line here. So first of all, again, my name is Michelle Wells. I work for the Grow Group. I've been working with them from Tampa, Florida for about 6 years, but I'm also an active vocational director for the Commonwealth of Virginia. I've worked for the VR program there in various stages of my career for the last 25 years. So I like talking about this area because these are game changers. What I absolutely love is, first of all, we're going to add a little bit of candy, a little bit of bag of chips to your lunch today. And why are we talking about SSI work incentives? What is the purpose? The purpose of these work incentives are to make work more financially rewarding than not working at all, and help people keep essential benefits. Next slide. This is my favorite. Starting as a vocational counselor, 25 years ago, autism wasn't even a diagnosis back then. And I remember facing a lot of families struggling with, I don't want my child to work because they're going to lose their SSI. We really rely on that SSI. I'm hoping today, after 25 years, people understand this one beautiful work incentive, and that's the student earned income exclusion. First of all, it's just a game changer, plain and simple. It is anything that is anybody that's under the age of 22 that is receiving SSI. We want you to try out work. Social Security wants you to try out work, and they're not going to penalize you for that, which is really great. You can hang on to your money and still keep your cash benefit of SSI if you're under age 22. To be eligible, you must be a student under 22, regularly attending school, college, training programs, and working. How does it work? For students who meet the criteria, Social Security will exclude a certain amount of your earnings, dollar for dollar, up to the monthly and to the annual maximums. As you can see, $2,350 per month is what an individual can earn, and the maximum is $9,460. This allows students to build job skills and gain work experience while maintaining their SSI benefits, and sometimes even their full federal SSI payment. This particular incentive is great during those summer breaks. You know, we want to try work. I don't remember how many times individuals did not get the opportunity to try work while they're still in school because they were afraid that a dollar was going to leave from their SSI checks. That's not the case anymore. This exclusion will certainly help individuals. It will only be terminated if the person turns 22. So your post-educational programs are perfect for this. So please, if you are a student or have an individual with a disability that is younger than age 22 and is still enrolled in a university, college, school, consider working with Social Security on the student earned income exclusion. Next slide. This is where you can see in this calculation sheet how it falls. It immediately falls right after gross earned income. That is a game changer. If an individual earns grossly $1,000 in their work and it's a part-time job while they're attending school, they get to subtract it, which is making it no SSI is being touched. Next slide. All right, this is impairment-related work expenses. Again, another fabulous work incentive. It's called the IRWI. I think it's kind of funny, I would say IRWI, but impairment-related work expenses, out-of-pocket costs for any products or services that is necessary with persons with disabilities to work. Social Security allows beneficiaries of SSI and SSDI, and we'll talk more about that next week, to deduct their expenses from their earnings. This reduction, their countable income, which helps them maintain eligibility for benefits while working. What are the conditions for an IRWI? For an expense to be approved as an IRWI by Social Security, It must meet several criteria. First of all, it is needed because of physical and mental impairments. It's because of the disability. It is required for a person to be able to work. Again, think about all the things that you have to use and do to be able to get out of your home to go to work because of your disability is preventing you from doing certain things. This is something you can do. Is it paid for the person or not reimbursed by other sources? Again, if it's not being paid by other sources, this is a perfect place to put it in that calculation sheet. So your dollars from SSI do not go away. The cost is considered reasonable, reflecting the standard changes of the service. Let me give you some examples of these areas. First of all, your medical costs, prescription drugs, medical devices. It's one thing I always ask, are you having mobility issues? Let's talk about that. Are you having to pay for certain things out of your own pocket? Can we consider that in IRWI? Transportation, specialized transportation, vehicle modifications, attendant care is a part of this, are examples of IRWIs. If you're paying it out of pocket, it is something you certainly can use. Assistive devices, work-related equipment, and your residential modifications, anything that has to be in the home. Your service animals can be a part of this as well, like the little dog there. How IRWIs affect benefits. And if you want to go to the next slide, you can see the calculation sheet. As you can see, it's in this calculation sheet. As Bob was saying, it's pretty complicated, but it's an area you certainly can use. As long as everything is approved by Social Security, you can claim this IRWI. So to claim an IRWI, you must submit proof of payment, such as receipts, to Social Security. You should also provide a clear explanation of how the expense relates to your disability and necessary for work. That's the reason why Bob, Maddie, and I are around. We're there to help individuals think about that. Hey, do you use this? Do you have to pay this? Is this a part of how you can function to be able to go to work? This is considered an IRWI. Let's go ahead and think about that. Let's talk to Social Security about that. How much money are you spending a month on that? And let's get that approved. All right, next slide. Okay. This is another one, is the blind work expenses. So individuals say, well, I have a vision impairment. Please be aware that it has to be identified by Social Security as you being legally blind or blind, okay? I won't go too much into the weeds on this one, but I will tell you what the differences are between the blind work expense and the IRWI. The main difference between the blind work expense and the IRWI is that blind work expense does not have to be related to the person's blindness. This gives a blind SSI recipient a much broader list of expenses they can claim compared to other individuals with disabilities. So to be eligible to qualify for the VWE exclusion, a person must meet the following criteria. Receive SSI due to blindness. Your disability on file, the Social Security Administration must be blindness. Earned income, the expense must be paid out of your earned income. And you must be under the age of 65 to qualify. Next slide. And as you can see, that's where it is in the calculation sheet. All right, next slide.
So these are ABLE accounts, and it's a great way to put some money aside and protect your SSI and Medicaid from an asset perspective. Again, we talked about, depending on if you're single or married, having only $2,000 or $3,000 in assets. So, and if you put money in an ABLE account, it can help with the asset side of things. And you can use that money to spend on qualified disability expenses like education, housing, transportation, assistive technology, anything health or medical devices or things like that, and financial management. If you need assistance or if you need legal advice, you can pay those people from your ABLE account. Every state has its own ABLE program, and in 2026, the age that you can have a disability goes up to 46. Right now, it's only 26 or younger when you become disabled that you can have an ABLE account. As of 2026, that's going to go up to 46. Now, the one thing I will say with ABLE accounts is they do not help on the income side. So just because you are working and you deposit money into an ABLE account, that still counts as income. So ABLE accounts are very helpful for assets, but not income. So we just wanted to make sure we clarified that. Next slide.
All right, we forgot one work incentive. Forgot it was not in the slides because it's a more complicated, and it really requires involvement with Social Security and talking with them. So it's the PASS plan through Social Security Administration. It's the plan to achieve self-support. Again, it's a game changer, but it's complicated in the sense that you really do have to develop such a plan. It allows a person with a disability to set aside money and other resources over a period of time to achieve a specific work goal. Under an approved PASS, the Social Security will not count the money set aside when determining eligibility for calculating the amount of SSI. This is especially helpful for people who might be disqualified for SSI due to their income or resources, or whose SSI benefits would be reduced by the income. By putting the money into a PASS, an individual can use this funds to pay for a job-related expense while preserving or even increasing their monthly SSI payments for basic living expenses. I have seen PASSes used when an individual has to pay for their own education and for a university. And it's a whole plan that's developed saying, hey, I am putting X amount of dollars away to save for my education because I want to achieve this. Let's say the certificate for cybersecurity. Hey, I don't have the resources. No one's going to be able to help me pay for this. I want to pay for this cybersecurity certificate because I want to use it for this type of work. So please, I want to put this money, I'm working now, I'm going to put this money aside for this. And that's what the PASS plan is. There is a PASS area in that SSI calculation sheet as well. But again, you have to get into the weeds with Social Security on that. And we wanted to just briefly touch on it today. So the next one is going to be on the health insurance. I get this a lot. I don't want to lose. I cannot lose my health insurance, and totally get it. Totally get it. So there is such a protection. It's called the Medicaid 1619B protection. How it works. This allows individuals to keep their Medicaid health coverage even if their earned income becomes too high to receive SSI cash benefits. This goal is to encourage SSI recipients to enter or re-enter the workforce without fear of losing essential health benefits. This is a great protection. When an SSI recipient earns and increases over where they are zeroed out on their cash benefit. So in the calculation sheet, when an individual earns a certain amount of money, they will possibly go to zero, meaning zero SSI. They're going to get zero in their SSI check. Doesn't mean they lose Medicaid, doesn't mean they lose their SSI. It just means that they have gone to zero. So how do you become eligible for 1619B? First of all, you must have received an SSI cash payment for at least 1 month before your earnings cause benefits to end. You have to continue to be disabled. You must still meet the Social Security medical requirements for disability or blindness. You also need Medicaid to work. You must demonstrate that you need Medicaid coverage to continue working. This is known the Medicaid use test and can be met if you use Medicaid in the last 12 months. Meet SSI non-disability rules. Again, you have to make sure your resources are below that 2,000 mark. Stay below the state income threshold. As you can see, the earnings is of concern as well, but you can continue to have your Medicaid and still work a certain amount of money earnings and still have your Medicaid.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that information. We know that a lot of these things can be very confusing and complex, and that's why it's so important for us to be having these conversations. And I wanted to jump in here. This is Maddie, by the way. And we wanted to talk about how important knowledge can be, especially for these benefits. And so one of the most important things for individuals, in my opinion, I'm a person with a disability. I was born with a disability in Florida, and I've lived here my entire life. I was an SSI recipient from pretty much when I was born until actually last year. And I was able to work and have my Medicaid, and I was able to have a really good career being able to help people with disabilities and also keep my health care. Just like Michelle just mentioned, not having a cash benefit may not be as the most important thing. This may not necessarily be that cash benefit. It may be the Medicaid that someone really needs in order to go to work. Someone can be completely okay with having their earnings be the income they have, but really need that Medicaid, whether it's personal care or complex medical things that people go through that are really important for an individual. So I wanted to emphasize just the definition of informed choice. And of course, we might know in concept what this is, but it really means that someone has the information that they need to weigh out the risks and the benefits to make a decision. And when we apply that to Social Security benefits and specifically benefits counseling, it's really having an individual be able to make that decision for themselves and understanding what their individual, or for me, in my instance, my individual return on investment is. Is it more important for me to earn a high income and have my health care? Or if I lose my health care, is it more important for me to maybe reduce that income a little bit to make sure I can maintain what I need at that time? I also wanted to mention, for a lot of people working, we're talking about work incentives, right? These are not just incentives to have disability benefits. These are specific incentives for individuals that haven't earned income. And so aside from these work incentives, what are the benefits of working? What's important to us as individuals? And of course, more income can be helpful, right? I know especially these times get hard. And so having a higher ability to make a higher earning, I think, is important for a lot of people. Independence, being able to be financially independent, can lead to more opportunities for independence for individuals, and career growth. I mean, the reward that comes from being able to go to work, have, whether it's 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, or 40 hours a week, there's purpose that's coming along with, of course, going and being part of either their own company, part of another company, part of a group, or working individually to help others. There's a lot of purpose that goes behind that and reward in going to work. I also want to mention, when is it time to get connected with a benefits counselor? For, I think, every individual that is youth, understanding what that timeline could look like from, like what Michelle also said, the student earned income exclusion, through if they're going to school or if they're going to get specific trainings, that time is so critical. I'll tell you from my own experience, I got caught into the VR system, in my opinion, too late. I did not have the services when I was in high school. I got connected to VR my second year in college, and I think that things could have played out a little differently if I would have had a benefits counselor prior to that, that would have helped map out that first few years after high school, or even while I was in high school. Having different training opportunities could have been really critical for me. And of course, no regrets. I think everything's a learning experience, but I can definitely see how my timeline could have played out a little bit differently with earnings if I would have had a benefits counselor. So transition students, transition is just such an important critical time. And then checkpoints. If there's a major change in someone's employment, or if they're exploring different types of earnings or options, getting reconnected with a benefits planner is a great way to help with that informed decision or informed choice. All right. One of the other things that we know is really important, especially for individuals that are beneficiaries and for their supports, like a lot of people on this call today, is making sure they understand how to report wages. A benefits planner is going to be able to help that person one-on-one, make sure that they know what's going to be the best way for them to report wages to Social Security. Are they going to mail their pay stubs on a monthly basis? Are they going to go drop them off at the Social Security office? If they are able to, maybe they're better with technology, we can teach them how to use the computer or the app to submit their pay stubs on a monthly basis. Social Security usually wants those within the first, 6 to 10 days of the month for the previous month. So for example, if, someone's working in the month of October, having those submitted next month by November 6th or so is really important for Social Security. And even more important than Social Security having that information, you knowing and giving them that information can help with reducing the risk of an overpayment. I feel like everybody's heard, if you're a beneficiary, about overpayments, whether you've gotten one or you knew someone that got one. And it's really challenging to go back and figure out all of that math. And the longer that you don't report things to Social Security, the harder it's going to be to figure all of that out. So if you can, on a regular basis, get in a routine of submitting those things, that's going to be really important. So now we have to throw the wrench in of the government shutdown, right? We're a few weeks, unfortunately, into this, and there have been some changes with Social Security. So we wanted to also mention that we've noticed, and there have been people reporting difficulty with reporting wages. So I just mentioned how important it is to report these wages, but of course now I'm telling you that they're having challenges, but this is temporary. So it's recommended during this time that individuals figure out a tracking system for themselves, a filing system digitally or paper if they're going to print them every month. So that way, when we're able to get back and connected with Social Security Administration, we have all that information to provide them at one easy way. The other thing I wanted to mention is that there aren't any benefits verifications happening right now because of the government shutdown. And so you may be hearing or seeing delays with benefits planning and with benefits counseling. And we just wanted to mention that today in case you may be a job coach or a transition specialist or a beneficiary yourself that might have needed to know that. Why haven't I heard from, this person, or why am I not getting this report back as soon as they told me I was going to? Okay.
Right, so key takeaways: report wages for sure. Remember, in age groups, things do change when you move from high school and the age of 17, 18, and then moving into adulthood. There is that age of 18 redetermination. This is where individuals may continue on with services or not, depending on what happens in that phase. Remember, you can have FBR. Right now, that's the federal benefit rate. If you don't, please, please, please look at the room and lodger. There's information on that on the website for Social Security. It's an agreement. You can agree if you're living at home with your parents. You can agree, I'm going to pay some rent, and then you get that full, because what happens when you're getting lesser in your SSI check, in that calculation sheet, you bottom out to zero rather quickly. We want to make sure that you get that full in, FBR, which right now is $967. It always pays to work. Sometimes it's not even really the paycheck, right? It's everything that's involved in working. It's that camaraderie. is that getting to know people, is getting out of the house. And then again, if you're a young person, you have a whole career ahead of you. Don't make that determination to sit on that couch now if you're a very young person or even older. The idea is get out there. You have a lot to offer to the world, and this is the opportunity to do that. And ultimately, I understand Social Security can be a challenge, but some of those incentives I've talked about and those things are so important that you partner well with your Social Security Administration. So please, 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 I understand phone calls, trying to get in contact with them, trying to meet with them is quite the challenge, but you certainly want to benefit from those incentives and the things that we've been talking about today. So, any questions?
Michelle, I want to jump in real quick because we do have a question in the chat. And it says from Jennifer, if they lose SSI, then they have to apply through DCF, which is the Department of Children and Families, to regain Medicaid, though, correct? Just wanted to ask that question for her.
Any other questions?
Are we going to answer that question?
I said yes, you do.
Oh, okay. And for those who are asking about the slides and watching this video later, the slides will be sent out to all those who are listed on attendees who have entered their email address. You don't enter an email address, it will be in cyberspace and you will never receive it. If you complete the survey, you will get your certificate, and the video will be posted on our website and on YouTube by our IT department in the future. It should be up there before Christmas, hopefully. Any other questions?
Denise, I have a question. I see a lot of people are on mute. Does everybody have the opportunity to unmute themselves, or do questions need to go through the chat or Q&A?
They can go through the chat or Q&A, but if they raise their hand, I can unmute them individually. I'm just not going to do a mass unmute. Not with 74 of us on here.
No problem. That makes sense.
So if you prefer to ask a question verbally instead of typing it, raise your hand and I can come find you and let you answer that question.
And we also left plenty of time for questions because we just laid down the foundation. I always think we're building a house here. We laid down the floor. So I love being able to have this be interactive and ask and answer questions to help us solidify that information.
And I'm assuming those who are putting their email addresses in the chat, you didn't register with an email address and you want me to keep track of those for you? Okay. At what point in your job search do you start talking to a benefits counselor? Do I wait until I've gotten my first paycheck, or do I start doing that before I even start looking for employment?
I believe you need to start right away. Yeah. Before you even get into that phase. Yeah. Like we were talking, knowledge is power, right? And you can always build upon your initial benefits assessment. But at least getting a foundational piece, I love that, what Maddie had just said. She speaks to my heart on that one. Let's build that foundation, right? We're all building beautiful houses and we want no cracks in our foundation. And if we make sure we put that good foundation, your first benefits analysis is probably going to be a great foundational piece, because then you have an understanding of what you can do. And what
speaking for myself and my journey is, when I got out of college, I did not receive benefits counseling. I was just told, go to work full time. And that's what I did. I went to work, and what I found was I wasn't keeping very much money in my pocket. After 3 years of working full time, I said, what am I doing this for? And kind of really struggled, had to deal with some things mentally, and I was told that, you know, it might be better for me to work part-time and, you know, keep my medical benefits and do it that way. And I wasn't receptive to that message at the time. It took me a little bit. I kind of told people to go jump in a lake, and hopefully with some education we can help folks be a little bit more receptive that even part-time work is better than no work. So because I've had a lot of friends that say, you know, I don't want to work retail, I don't want to be a cashier, I don't want to do this, but then they end up not working at all. So we try to give people the education so that they can make the informed choices about their own careers.
Thank you. How does PT or trial work affect SSDI benefits? Maybe I missed that. What are the rules for trial work periods in SGA and extended period of eligibility getting reinstated? How quick can that or does that happen? It's a three-parter. It's in the chat in case you need me to repeat it. I'll start with the first part. How does PT or trial work affect SSDI benefits?
So I'll jump in. Today, we were primarily focusing on the work incentives for SSI. And since this is a two-parter, we understand that it's just a lot to cover all in one day. So we really wanted to separate these into two. So we explained SSDI and how you get it, but we haven't gone into the details of SGA, which is the substantial gainful activity. We haven't touched on trial work periods yet or the extended period of eligibility. But if you're interested, next Friday, we'll be talking about them.
So join us, same place, same time, different link. So what are the rules for, what are the rules for SGA? Can you explain what SGA is again and what the rules are for that?
Do we want to jump into SSDI today or do we want to wait for next week? Because that's all related to SSDI work incentives. And we're going to go into all that detail next week. But SGA is substantial gainful activity. And in 2025, it's $1,620. And that's the phase 2 of the work incentives for SSDI.
There's not an SGA for SSI?
I'm going to lean on Michelle.
What happens is you're looking at that zeroing out on your calculation sheet.
Okay.
So whatever that is, again, depending on whatever you throw into that calculation sheet, that's going to be your breaking even point.
Yeah.
Okay. If thank you for that. If a person has a rep payee, are they responsible for sending the pay stubs in monthly to Social Security? And I'm assuming they're saying is the rep payee responsible for sending the pay stubs in? And that's a trick question. I'll defer to you guys. I have an answer for that, but I'll defer to you guys for that one.
You go, Denise. Tell me your answer.
So my answer would be whoever works closest with that person in supporting them for employment, and not necessarily the rep payee and not necessarily the individual themselves. If the job coach has the technical skills to be able to handle that for that person, then they can do it. If it's a friend, they can do it. If it's the rep payee, they can do it. If it's the parent, they can do it. It's whomever works closer with that individual and either teaches them the skills or can support them to get that done on a regular basis. We can't keep putting it off, because if you don't have any family, then it would be your voc rehab counselor. So whoever is closest to that individual needs to make sure that it's done.
I've even heard of people partnering with their individual HR departments, and if they get the fax number for their local Social Security office, sometimes the HR people will fax the pay stub as well.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, that's awesome. And what a great idea.
That
I love
is.
being able to help partner with the employer. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is. That's one way to make sure it gets there and you don't have to rely on too many third parties to get it done.
Yeah, that way the worker still receives a pay stub, and then as long as they have the correct fax information, I have done that in the past and I've seen it done as well.
Yeah, that's a reasonable accommodation.
Absolutely.
I don't see any other questions, but I'm thinking someone probably has a question out there for us. Does anybody want to raise their hand or ask anything specifically about SSI and work incentives, Medicaid, ABLE accounts? Denise, we have a quiet group today.
I see. I see that. Pretty quiet. Well, we have a few minutes, so I'm going to go over a few things since no one is chiming in. And if you have any other questions, just put them in the chat or the Q&A. Someone asked, will you be touching on SURDAC, SURDAC next week?
I'm guessing they just mean disabled adult child. Is that correct?
It may be that.
Yeah. Yes. We will be touching on that next week.
Yes. Survivors, yes. That will go there as well.
Everything related to Title II, we're going to be talking about next week.
And we will get into the dual as well. Get the SSI and SSDI. We'll be touching base on that as well.
And Denise, one last thing before we finish up our slides is this page is where myself, Michelle, and Bob got the information to put these slides together and provide this information. So the ABLE National Resource Center is a great place to go if you want to learn about ABLE accounts, because like Bob said, all the states have their own programs and they all operate a little differently. Like, for example, I have an ABLE account and I'm in the state of Florida, so I have an ABLE United account. And in the state of Virginia, they have what's called ABLE Now. And I recently learned one of the differences between the two accounts that made me consider maybe I want to actually look at the different benefits side by side of different ABLE accounts, because in the state of Florida, if I pass away, I cannot give my savings or investments to anyone because I don't have a sibling that has a disability. I'm an only child. And so I've looked at other ABLE accounts and that's not the same in other places. So for me, again, I have to weigh the risks and benefits and figure out, oh, maybe there's a different program that might benefit me more. So if I die, maybe I can give that money to my partner or a different person. The Social Security Administration, of course, has all this information. The Red Book, being able to refer to that from SSA, Cornell University, that's where I have my certification credentialing from. Also, Virginia Commonwealth University is the other certification that individuals can receive to do benefits planning. And of course, the Ticket to Work helpline. We didn't go into a whole lot of detail with that. We'll touch on it next week, but having the information for that as well.
I do want to touch just quickly on AI. I know it's a big thing. I know people are using it. Just be wary of it, especially if you're trying to get your information specifically about Social Security. Again, things might come up that may not necessarily add up correctly. I actually used it the other day and they were giving me the wrong information when it pertained to some of the Social Security limits and so forth. So if you're going to search something, go to that Social Security website and find it in actuality as opposed to through AI.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, Michelle. Sorry, Denise. I did the same thing when I was getting my credentialing. I would use AI to kind of just see if I could compare what I was knowing was true and what they gave me. And unfortunately, I did find quite a few errors. And even when I went through some difficulty with my Medicaid, asking AI to help, they were giving me very wrong answers, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the Social Security website is ssa.gov. It's very simple. ssa.gov. So if they give you a link and it doesn't go there for the resource from Social Security, it's not accurate.
Okay, I will stop sharing, Denise. I don't know if you wanted to share any other resources while we have a few minutes. I can pull up some information about the conference if you would like.
I have that information, so
Perfect.
I'm going to go over that information. I do want to share with you guys our survey link, and I will put the link into the chat so that you are able to participate in that. You can scan the QR code or you can use the link that's in the chat. It's your choice. I'll give that a few minutes and then I'll start from the beginning with the slides that we're playing in case any of you missed them, and then I can go into detail on some of those. Okay, as we mentioned, next week is going to be part 2 of this event. Sorry, I have timings on here. And so that they're going to talk about supports that make work possible, past plans, ERIES, Medicaid protections, and more. There's a new program out, and it's the Care Corps, and it's Early Learning Childcare Worker and Registered Behavior Technician Job Training. That's available if you need that information. When I send out the slides, you will have the links for that. FDDC, which is the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, is seeking public comment for their 5-year plan. And we hope that you will give comment because this will be the plan that they'll be implementing from 2026 to 2031. There's a call to action for IDA to preserve it. There has been, I did see an email this morning that said that there is a stay on all the cuts and closures they were doing with the Department of Education, which is a good thing, but your voices are still needed, so please do that. As we said, this is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and this is the poster for this year, and you can order one, have it delivered to you. It's free, or you can download it yourself. And then in November, we're doing supporting neurodivergent clients and hiring practices. There's the Autism Theater in Miramar is showing The Voice Inside. APSI has a providers meeting every month. The next meeting is was yesterday. The Link Center is offering a new support group for parents. There's a mental health and wellness in the workplace course that's being offered by USF. APSI is offering their Collaboration Summit 2026, and it'll be in St. Augustine, February 25th through the 27th, and we're also seeking speakers, so you can submit a proposal for that, and we're also seeking sponsorship. So if you are willing to be a sponsor, we would appreciate your assistance very, very much.
Please visit our website for more information about our programs, projects, and how you can get involved.